Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Divya. Today I have for you a posture clinic, and I'm really excited about this pose because it is such an underrated posture. Utkatasana or chair pose is often just thrown into vinyasa classes as a transitional posture, and it's rarely held in and of its own right. Another thing that I noticed is that people often do a few parts of this posture in a way that's not going to give you more stability, more strength, and versatility, especially if you are going to be using it in a sequence or a dynamic flow. So today's class is going to break down Utkatasana and show you how to set yourself up for success and how to transition from this posture into a flow. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first things first, when you're going into Utkatasana chair pose, you need to think about establishing a really solid foundation. What I see far too often is teachers instructing students to put their big toes together and then slam their heels together and then squat down. Now, we have to remember that everyone's anatomy is going to be different, so we can't have a one size fits all approach. The most important thing is that the surface of our foot is fully able to engage with the ground and that we're able to have our body facing forward. So for me, if I place my toes together and slam my heels together, what also happens is my knees knock into each other, which makes my foundation super unstable. And I find myself really gripping the floor in a way that's not actually stabilizing. It becomes a little destabilizing. And then when I start to bend my knees and lower down, I really start to sway and I lose my balance. So the first thing that I'm going to suggest that you try is to stand about hip width apart. See what that feels like in the body. Once you have your feet about hip width apart, just notice as you're standing if you feel more stable. And from there, I want you to lift your toes up, fan them out wide, and gently lay them down on the mat one toe at a time. Then press the full surface of your foot into the floor. Really relax the sole of your foot down. From there, press into your toes, draw them towards the center of your foot. What we're doing here is called pada or the foot bind, engaging the full surface of the foot. This is the difference between a passive stance and an active stance. So once you engage your pada, just notice what else activates in your body. You'll probably feel your kneecaps lift up towards your thigh muscles. You might feel your glutes engage, maybe even a little bit of action in the core. This is very different from if you relax your foot now, there's really not a lot keeping you stable. It's kind of just your center of gravity that you're leaning on. So first thing is to have a nice, comfortable stance. You could also maybe do this with your feet touching, but you have to think about your anatomy. If your knees are knocking together, if having your feet together like this isn't comfortable, step them apart. It's okay. Engage your pada. So really pull that energy up into the center of your foot. Feel your kneecaps lift towards your thighs. Feel your glutes engage. And then from here, start to sit your hips down. You don't want to stick your butt behind you. You don't want to overly bend so that your knees are going over your toes and then your heels pick up. You want to just squat down, like really sit down like you're sitting in a chair. The next thing I want you to think about is your core. A lot of people tend to relax their front core, their front abdomen, and just kind of let the belly hang out here. What you actually want to do is activate your Uddiyana Bandha or your abdominal upward flying lock. So pull the navel back towards the spine. And now think of it being pulled back towards this space at the back of your ribs. So you're not just sucking it in, you're drawing the navel back and towards the back of your ribs, which is actually engaging your core. Now, if we're thinking about the back of the body, I also see a lot of people pull or push their tailbone out like this so that their butt is sticking out. This is straining your lower back, and it also makes you lose a little bit of that strength that we have established in the core. So when you think about pulling in your core, also think about wrapping your tailbone forward slightly so that your core is fully locked in. What you'll notice happens when you do that is that your lower back flattens out just a little bit and your glutes tuck in, which means that you have the opportunity to engage them. Now that your lower back isn't splayed and your tailbone's tucked in, you might even be able to go a little bit lower. So we have our foundation, we have our core. Next thing is to swing the arms up. Now this is definitely not a passive part of the posture either. We're not just swinging the arms up, we're actually actively reaching the fingertips nice and high. You can have your hands open or clasp them together. Depending on your shoulders and how open they are, this could feel accessible or it might not. If it doesn't feel comfortable, you can just extend your fingertips forward and reach them. Now, while you're reaching your hands forward, I don't want you to hike your shoulders up towards your ears. Still keep them relaxed and open. Wrap the shoulder blades here around the back rather than squeezing them in like this. Wrap them around and lift up through your fingertips. Sit down, reach through the fingertips, relax, take a breath. Breathe here. Let's take one more breath. Again, thinking about this posture from the bottom up. Stable foundation, engaged core, relaxed shoulders, active through the fingertips, gazing forward. Now, the final thing that I will say, which really gives this posture that extra oomph of strength and stability, is coming back down to the feet. Rather than just engaging the foot bind, I also want you to think about splitting the mat with your feet. Now, when you do that, you're going to feel a lot of engagement and activation through the glutes here, which is going to give you that stability. So from here, if you're going to do any kind of twisting posture, such as bringing the hands together, twisting over the right knee or the left knee, or if you're going to go from chair pose to forward fold, or from chair pose to, say, half moon, or from chair pose to low lunge, you have a much more strong foundation from which you can move, versus if you have a little bit more of a loose or unstable foundation, it's going to be a lot harder to transition into different postures because your base isn't strong. So hopefully, as we walk through some of these mechanics, it made sense. I want us to flow through a sun salutation 2, which is going from chair pose into the warrior sequence, just so you can feel the difference with all of these mechanics in mind. So let's go ahead and start from Utkatasana. Set up your foundation, activate the Pada Bandha, split the mat with the feet, sink the hips down, tuck the tailbone, engage the core, lift the arms, active through the fingertips, relax through the shoulders. One breath here, inhale, exhale, see if you can sink a little bit deeper. Inhale, exhale, hands down. Inhale again, Utkatasana. Exhale. Inhale, stand up, mountain pose. Exhale, back down to Utkatasana. Inhale, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, Utkatasana. So you might notice that I'm actually taking you through inhales to get into the posture and exhales to get into the posture, just so you can feel what it feels like to enter from different ways. Exhale. Inhale. On the exhale, step the right foot back, open up to warrior 2. Inhale, let's sweep the right hand forward, come back to Utkatasana. Exhale, step the left foot back to warrior 1. Inhale, back to Utkatasana. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, hands to the heart, and we'll go ahead and end there. I hope that moving through Utkatasana, setting up the foundation, and all of these practices together give you a little bit of a bigger picture of how this posture can be stronger, more stable, and more dynamic. And hopefully you enjoyed practicing with me. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.